At Thanksgiving, my mom said, "Your brother just bought a beautiful house. When will you finally settle down?" I replied, "Oh, I already did. I just didn't invite anyone who doubts me." Her face turned red as everyone turned to stare. So for context, since I, 28 female, was born, my entire life has basically been watching my family worship the ground my older brother, let's call him Ethan, 33 male, walks on. I'm not even exaggerating. Since we were kids, it was always Ethan made the football team, or Ethan got straight A's again. Meanwhile, I'd get second place in a state science competition, and my mom would be like, "That's nice, honey. Did you see what your brother did, though?" Our dad split when I was 4, Ethan was 9. And I think my mom kinda transferred all her hopes and expectations onto Ethan. He became the man of the house in her eyes. And I became, well, just the other kid, the girl, the afterthought. Mom would literally reschedule my dance recitals if they conflicted with Ethan's football games. She missed my high school graduation because Ethan had a job interview that day, and she wanted to support him by driving him there and waiting outside. I'm not making this stuff up. As we got older, it only got worse. Ethan went to college. Mom helped pay, even though his grades were mediocre, while I had to get loans and work 2 jobs because girls don't need as much help. When he graduated and got an entry-level job, Mom threw him this massive party and invited the whole family. When I graduated with honors, I got a card. My cousin, I'll call her Nora, was the only one who noticed how messed up it all was. She'd come over after these big Ethan celebration dinners and just sit with me while I tried not to cry. "Your mom doesn't know what she's missing," she'd say. But that didn't really help when I was watching my entire family act like Ethan had just won a Nobel Prize for getting a C+ average and a job at his friend's dad's company. I moved out at 22 and basically stopped sharing anything important with my family. What was the point? Mom would just turn it around to be about Ethan somehow anyway. Got a promotion? That's nice. Ethan's thinking about applying for a new position too. Went on a nice vacation? Oh, Ethan's been so busy at work, he hasn't had time for a vacation in months, poor thing. So I just stopped. I'd show up for holidays, answer their surface-level questions with vague responses, and change the subject. Meanwhile, I was absolutely grinding at my tech job, getting promotion after promotion, investing smart, and building a life that made me happy. I'd always been good with computers, even though no one in my family ever noticed or cared. In high school, I taught myself coding while Ethan was out being social. Mom's words, not mine. I started college as a computer science major, and despite working those 2 jobs to pay for it, I still graduated top of my class. I got hired at a startup right out of college. The pay wasn't great at first, but I got stock options as part of my compensation package. I lived super frugally, had 3 roommates in a tiny apartment, brought lunch from home every day, didn't go out much. Every extra penny I had went into either paying off my student loans or investing. My mom would call occasionally, but our conversations always followed the same pattern. "Mom, how are you, honey?" Me. "I'm good. Work's going well." Mom. "That's nice. Did I tell you about Ethan's new promotion?" And we'd spend the next 45 minutes talking about Ethan. It was like clockwork. There was this one Thanksgiving, about 3 years ago, that really sticks in my mind. I had just been promoted to team lead at work, my first management position. I was really proud of myself, especially since I was the youngest team lead in the company's history. I went to my mom's house for dinner, actually excited for once because I thought maybe, just maybe, this was something she'd be proud of. Ethan was there with his girlfriend at the time, not Vanessa, some other girl whose name I can't even remember now. During dinner, my mom asked the usual, "So, how are things, Jade?" And I decided to actually tell her. "Actually, I got promoted to team lead last week," I said, trying not to sound too eager. "I'm managing a team of 6 developers now." Mom nodded absently. "That's nice, dear. Ethan, tell everyone about that client you landed." And just like that, the conversation shifted to Ethan's job selling insurance, or whatever he was doing at the time. I sat there picking at my turkey, while everyone oohed and awed over how Ethan had convinced some local business owner to switch insurance providers. Nora, who was sitting next to me, squeezed my hand under the table. She knew. She always knew. After dinner, I was helping with the dishes when Aunt Debbie cornered me in the kitchen. "So, Jade, any special man in your life yet?" I shook my head. "Not at the moment. I'm pretty focused on my career right now." She clicked her tongue and leaned in like she was sharing some profound wisdom. "Don't wait too long, sweetie. Men don't like women who are too career-oriented. Look at your brother. Already has a girlfriend and he's not even settled in his career yet." I just smiled and scrubbed harder at the gravy boat I was washing. There was no point trying to explain to her that I wasn't interested in the kind of guys who'd be intimidated by my ambition. That night, as I was leaving, my mom hugged me at the door. "It was good to see you, honey. You should come around more often." "I'm pretty busy with work," I said, "especially now with the promotion and everything." Mom's expression was blank for a second. Then she smiled. "Oh, right, your little promotion. That's wonderful, dear. Maybe one day you'll be as successful as your brother." I don't think she even realized how that sounded. To her, it was just a fact of life that Ethan was successful. And I was not, no matter the reality. I drove home that night and decided that I was done seeking their approval. Done hoping for recognition. Done setting myself up for disappointment. From that point on, I lived my life for me and me alone. And you know what? Things started going really well once I stopped caring what they thought. The startup I worked for took off. Back-to-back funding rounds, a growing user base, and a promotion to development director as my team kept expanding. I was working insane hours but loving every second of it. Meanwhile, Ethan bounced from job to job. Insurance, real estate, some vague marketing gig, never staying put for more than a year. But according to my mom, every switch was a bold career move, and proof that he was just too talented to be tied down. Last summer, my mom invited the whole family over for a cookout to celebrate Ethan's big news. I almost didn't go, but Nora begged me to come for moral support. She hates these family things as much as I do. "Please, Jade," she texted. "If I have to listen to Aunt Debbie ask me why I'm not married yet one more time without backup, I might actually lose it." So I went. When I got to my mom's backyard, I was greeted by a scene that was so over the top, it was almost comical. Balloons everywhere. A banner that said, "Congratulations, Ethan," stretched across the patio. A cake that looked like a house sitting on the picnic table. Mom spotted me and rushed over, practically buzzing with excitement. "Jade, you made it. Isn't this exciting? Your brother has such big news." "Yeah, super exciting," I said, looking around at the decorations. "What exactly are we celebrating?" Mom's smile somehow got even bigger. "You'll have to wait for the announcement. Ethan wants to tell everyone himself." I grabbed a soda from the cooler and found Nora hiding in a corner of the yard, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Kill me now," she muttered as I approached. "My aunt already asked if I've tried dating apps because that's how young people meet these days. And uncle told me my biological clock isn't getting any younger." I snorted. Family gatherings. Always a blast. We stood there watching as more relatives arrived, each one immediately gravitating toward Ethan and his girlfriend Vanessa, who were holding court near the grill. Ethan was wearing this smug smile I've known my entire life, the one that says he thinks he's better than everyone else in the room. Finally, after everyone had arrived, my mom clinked her glass with a fork to get everyone's attention. "Everyone, I'm so proud to announce that Ethan has been pre-approved for a mortgage. He's buying his first home." They hyped him like he figured out how to buy property without selling a kidney. My Aunt Debbie actually had tears in her eyes. For a mortgage pre-approval. I wish I was kidding. Then my mom adds, "It's in Oakwood Heights. 4 bedrooms. A finished basement." And everyone's gasping and clapping. Nora leaned over to me. "Is it just me, or is this a really weird thing to throw a party for?" "It's not just you," I whispered back. My Uncle Rick spotted me at the edge of the yard and walked over. "So Jade, still renting that little apartment downtown?" I just smiled and said, "Yep, still there." He chuckled and patted my shoulder. "Well, maybe someday you'll get where your brother is. Not everyone can be successful right away." I just took a sip of my drink and walked away before I said something I'd regret. Later, as I was helping clean up, I overheard my mom and Ethan talking in the kitchen. "The down payment's going to be tight," Ethan was saying. "I might need to borrow a bit more than we discussed." Mom sighed. "Ethan, I already gave you $15,000. That's almost all I had saved." I know, he said. "But this house is perfect. And Vanessa really has her heart set on it. We could always get another credit card for the rest." I slipped away before they noticed me. That conversation stuck with me for weeks afterward. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd heard. My mom had given Ethan $15,000 for a down payment. $15,000. That was money she'd been saving for retirement. Money she couldn't really afford to give away. And what was that about getting another credit card? Something about the way he said it made me think it wasn't his first or even his second. Meanwhile, my mom had never offered me a penny when I moved into my apartment. In fact, she'd seemed annoyed when I'd asked if I could temporarily store some boxes in her garage until I got settled. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just at the obvious favoritism, which was nothing new, but at the way Ethan seemed to be taking advantage of our mom. She wasn't rich by any means. She worked as an administrative assistant at a local dental office, lived in the same modest house we grew up in, drove a 10-year-old car, That $15,000 probably represented years of careful saving on her part, and Ethan was talking about it like it was pocket change, already thinking about how to get more. The next day, I did something I'm not particularly proud of. I used some of my tech skills to look up Ethan's credit report. Not exactly legal or ethical, but I was worried about my mom, and I wanted to know just how bad Ethan's financial situation was. What I found shocked me. Ethan had 5 credit cards, all nearly maxed out. His credit score was abysmal. He had multiple late payments on his car loan. He'd recently applied for several new lines of credit, most of which had been denied. In short, he was a financial disaster, and he was about to take on a mortgage? I thought about warning my mom, but I knew she wouldn't listen to me. In her eyes, Ethan could do no wrong, and I was just being jealous or petty, or whatever she'd convinced herself was wrong with me. So I kept what I knew to myself, but I started checking in on her more often, just casual phone calls to see how she was doing. She rarely had much to say to me, always steering the conversation back to Ethan and his amazing new house. But what she and my entire family didn't know was that I'd been killing it at my job for years. I started as a junior developer, but quickly moved up to team lead, then department manager, and finally chief technology officer at a startup that got acquired last year. The stock options I had? Yeah, they were worth a stupid amount of money after the acquisition. I'd also been investing since I was 23, buying up crypto before it exploded and putting money in stocks that ended up booming during the pandemic. I didn't flaunt my success or my money. I still lived in my downtown apartment, still drove my reliable but ordinary car, still brought lunch to work most days. But I had a nice cushion of savings and investments that was growing month by month. About 8 months ago, I found this incredible house. It wasn't something I was actively looking for. I was actually pretty content in my apartment, but a colleague mentioned that their neighbor was selling their home privately, trying to avoid real estate fees, and was looking for a quick, no-hassle sale. Out of curiosity, I went to see it, and immediately fell in love. 4,200 square feet. Amazing kitchen with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking this gorgeous wooded area, a separate office space that was perfect for my remote work, and enough bedrooms that I could have both a guest room and a home gym. It was on 3 acres of land, with a stream running through the back of the property. The previous owners had built a deck that wrapped around the back of the house, with steps leading down to a fire pit area surrounded by comfortable outdoor furniture. Inside, the main living area had vaulted ceilings with exposed wooden beams, a stone fireplace that reached all the way up, and hardwood floors throughout. The kitchen had been recently renovated with high-end appliances, a massive island, and custom cabinets. The primary bedroom suite was on the main floor, with a bathroom that included a soaking tub positioned under a window that looked out onto the woods. Upstairs were 3 more bedrooms and 2 additional bathrooms. It wasn't cheap, at all, but I had the money. Actually had it. Not just pre-approved for a mortgage, had it. So I made an offer, paid in cash, and moved in 2 months later. The first night in my new house, I sat on the deck, looking out at the trees and listening to the sound of the stream, and felt this overwhelming sense of peace. This was mine. I'd earned it, all by myself without help from anyone. Did I tell my family? Nope, not a word. Whenever they asked how I was doing, I'd just say, same old, and change the subject. Mom never pushed for details. She never really cared enough to ask follow-up questions about my life. Nora was the only one who knew. She helped me move and almost cried when she saw the place. Jade, this is incredible, she said, spinning around in my new kitchen. I can't believe you did this all on your own. Believe it, I said, grinning. Wait till you see the back deck. She followed me outside and gasped at the view. Your family is going to lose their minds when they see this. I shrugged. They're not going to see it. I'm not telling them. Nora looked at me like I was crazy. What? Why not? This would shut them up for once about Ethan being the successful one. That's exactly why, I said. I'm done trying to prove myself to them. I don't need their validation anymore. She nodded slowly. I get it, but man, I would love to see their faces if they knew. Maybe someday, I said. Just not today. For the next several months, I settled into my new home and continued living my life exactly as I wanted to. I set up my home office, joined a local hiking group, planted a vegetable garden, and even adopted a dog from the shelter. A scruffy mutt, I named him Oscar, and he quickly became my best friend. I was happy. Really, genuinely happy. And I didn't need my family's approval to feel that way. When Thanksgiving rolled around this year, my mom texted the family group chat, Ethan and Vanessa's house is finally ready. They've moved in, and they're going to host Thanksgiving this year. Can't wait for everyone to see their beautiful new home. I almost didn't go. But then I thought about the fact that I hadn't seen my family in months, and something in me just snapped. I decided it was finally time to stop hiding my success. The morning of Thanksgiving, I took Oscar for a long walk around my property, thinking about what I was about to do. Part of me wondered if I should just let it go, keep my success to myself, avoid the drama. But another part of me, a stronger part, was tired of being overlooked, tired of watching Ethan get praise for things I'd done better, tired of my mom's constant disappointment in me. "What do you think, Oscar?" I asked as we made our way back to the house. "Should I finally stand up for myself?" He wagged his tail and barked once, which I took as a yes. I left Oscar with plenty of food and toys, then changed into a simple but elegant outfit. Dark jeans, a soft cashmere sweater, and a pair of boots I'd splurged on after the acquisition. Nothing flashy, but a far cry from the Walmart clothes I used to wear to family gatherings. I pulled up to Ethan's new house in my usual car. I never upgraded even though I could afford to. Never saw the point in flashy stuff. It was nice, I'll give him that. Standard new construction in one of those neighborhoods where all the houses look the same. As I approached the front door, I could hear voices and laughter from inside. I took a deep breath, reminded myself that I had nothing to prove to these people, and rang the doorbell. Vanessa answered, wearing an apron that said, "Hostess with the mostest," across the front. "Jade, you made it!" she exclaimed, pulling me into an awkward hug. We'd met maybe 3 times before today, but sure, hugging was happening. "Thanks for having me," I said, passing her a gift box of gourmet teas and handmade honey sticks. I found them during a weekend trip to a mountain market. Subtle luxury without trying too hard. "Oh, thanks," she said, glancing at the label without really looking at it. "Come in, everyone's already here." Inside, Ethan was playing tour guide, showing everyone around like he was on HGTV or something. "And here's the kitchen." Vanessa picked out all the finishes herself. "And we're thinking about putting a pool in the backyard next summer." Mom was trailing behind him like a proud shadow, adding her commentary, "Isn't the master bedroom gorgeous? And look at these countertops." I just smiled and nodded, helping Vanessa carry food to the dining room. I hadn't spent more than 10 minutes with her in total before today, but she seemed okay, just completely caught up in Ethan's world. Nora spotted me and immediately rushed over, pulling me into a corner of the living room. "You came. I wasn't sure you would. Couldn't miss seeing the famous house, could I?" I said with a small smile. She rolled her eyes. "It's been non-stop house talk since I got here. Look at our crown molding. Look at our recessed lighting. I'm about to reseat myself right out the door." I laughed. "How long have you been here?" "Too long," she groaned. Aunt Debbie cornered me the minute I walked in to tell me about her friend's daughter, who met someone on a dating app and is now married with twins. Apparently, that's supposed to inspire me. "At least she's consistent," I said. Nora's eyes narrowed as she studied my face. "You seem different today. Like you're, I don't know, almost enjoying this?" I shrugged. "Let's just say I'm prepared for whatever happens." She looked intrigued but didn't get a chance to question me further, as my mom spotted us and came bustling over. "Jade, there you are," she said. "Isn't Ethan's house just beautiful? So grown up, don't you think?" "It's very nice," I said neutrally. "He picked out all the paint colors himself," she continued, as if this was some kind of remarkable achievement. "And wait until you see the basement. They're turning it into a home theater." "Sounds great," I said. "How have you been, Mom?" "Oh, busy helping them get settled," she said, waving her hand. "You know how it is with a new house. So much to do, but it's all worth it. I'm just so proud of him." I nodded, biting my tongue. Now wasn't the time. Not yet. When we all sat down to eat, Ethan took the head of the table, of course, with Mom at his right hand and Vanessa at his left. I was stuck between Nora and Aunt Debbie, who immediately started interrogating me about my love life. "So Jade, any special someone yet? You're not getting any younger?" I just shrugged. "I'm focusing on my career right now." Mom jumped in. "Jade's always been so independent. Not everyone is ready to settle down and build a life like Ethan and Vanessa." Ethan smirked. "Speaking of building a life, we're thinking of starting to try for a baby next year. We've got plenty of space now." More cheers, more congratulations. My mom actually wiped away a tear. "I can't believe my baby boy is all grown up," she said, squeezing his arm. "A beautiful home, a wonderful job, thinking about starting a family. You've done everything right, Ethan." Then she turned to me, with that look she always gives me, this mix of disappointment and pity. "Jade, honey, when are you going to finally settle down? Don't you want what your brother has?" The table got quiet. Everyone was looking at me, waiting for me to make some excuse or change the subject like I always did. I took a slow sip of water, making them wait just long enough to get uncomfortable. Then I set my glass down carefully and said, "Oh, I already did. I just didn't invite anyone who doubts me. The silence was immediate. My mom's fork actually clattered onto her plate. Aunt Debbie's mouth fell open. And Ethan? His smug smile froze on his face like someone had hit pause. You what? My mom finally managed to say. I settled down, I repeated, taking another bite of turkey like it was no big deal. About 8 months ago, actually. What do you mean? Mom pressed, her eyes darting between me and Ethan. You didn't tell us anything about... Exactly, I cut in. I'd bought a house. I moved in. I built a life. I just didn't feel the need to announce it to people who've never shown interest in my accomplishments. Ethan tried to recover, forcing a laugh. Come on, Jade. A house is a pretty big deal. Kinda weird to keep that a secret, don't you think? I looked him dead in the eyes. Not really. It's not like any of you ever asked. That landed hard. My mom shifted in her seat, and Ethan's fake smile twitched at the corners. Well, Ethan said, after an awkward pause, what kind of place are we talking about here? A condo downtown or something? I could see what he was doing, trying to minimize whatever I'd accomplished before he even knew what it was. Typical Ethan. No, I said calmly. It's a house. It's actually bigger than this one. You could have heard a pin drop. Ethan's smile completely disappeared, and he was gripping his knife so tight his knuckles turned white. Bigger? Aunt Debbie asked. How big are we talking, Jade? I leaned back slightly, completely relaxed. Just over 4,200 square feet. On 3 acres. Ethan's jaw actually dropped. My mom let out a small gasp. But sweetheart, she said, her voice strained, don't you think that's a bit excessive for someone on their own? And there it was. Her attempt to make my success sound like a mistake. Not really, I replied, keeping my voice even. I mean, I didn't take out a mortgage or anything, so it's not like I have to worry about it being a financial strain. The reaction was immediate. Ethan choked on his drink. My mom's eyes went wide. You paid cash for a house that size? She stammered. Yeah, I shrugged like it was no big deal. I didn't see the point in having debt if I didn't need to. Ethan's face had gone from smug to ghostly pale in about 5 seconds flat. I turned to him. So, how's your mortgage, Ethan? What did you end up putting down? 5%? $5%? His jaw clenched so hard I could almost hear his teeth grinding. My mom jumped in, desperate to save him. Well, Ethan's home is just beautiful, she said quickly. And it's in such a wonderful neighborhood. Such a smart investment. Ethan nodded stiffly. Yeah, and real estate is all about location. The schools here are top-rated for when we have kids. Aunt Debbie, who's never been good at reading a room, piped up. Wait, so Jade, you actually owned your house outright? No mortgage at all? That's right, I said. Paid in full at closing. The looks around the table ranged from shocked, to impressed, to confused. Ethan was the only one who looked straight up angry. You know, I said, it's funny how much people assume about you when they don't actually bother to ask. My mom tried to laugh it off. Oh, come on, Jade, it's not like we ignore you. I raised an eyebrow. Really? When was the last time you asked me about my job? My finances? My future plans? No one had an answer. You never asked, I continued, because you never thought you had to. You assumed Ethan was the only one worth paying attention to. Ethan slammed his hand on the table. Seriously, Jade, we get it. You bought a house. Congratulations. Do you want us to throw you a parade or something? I looked at him calmly. Number. But maybe you should think about getting some financial advice before you keep acting like you're some kind of success story. His eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, leaning forward slightly, that while you've been pretending to have it all figured out, you've actually been drowning in debt. Credit card debt specifically. A lot of it. The blood drained from his face. The table went completely silent. Jade, my mom said slowly. What are you talking about? I kept my eyes on Ethan. Did you tell her, Ethan? Did you tell Mom that you're barely keeping up with your mortgage payments? That you maxed out 3 credit cards just to furnish this place? That you've been borrowing money from everyone you know for your down payment? His face became red, and he looked enraged. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I asked. I work in fintech, Ethan. Information is kind of my thing. Your credit score is in the 500s. You're over $200,000 in debt outside of your mortgage. You're one missed payment away from disaster. My mom turned to him, her face pale. Ethan? Is this true? For once in his life, Ethan had nothing to say. How much did you borrow from Mom? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Was it just the $15,000 I heard about? Or was there more after that? Mom's head snapped toward me. How did you... I overheard you at the cookout, I said. The one celebrating his mortgage pre-approval. You know, the event that got a bigger celebration than my college graduation. My mom had the decency to look ashamed. Ethan looked like he was about to explode. You had no right, he hissed. No right to dig into my finances. And you had no right to take advantage of Mom, I shot back. To take her retirement savings for your down payment, while knowing darn well you couldn't afford this house. The silence that followed was deafening. My mom looked between us, her perfect family image crumbling before her eyes. How did you do it? She finally asked me, her voice small. How did you afford a house like that? I took a deep breath. I worked my butt off. I got promoted 5 times in 6 years. I'm the CTO of my company now. My stock options were worth over $1 million when we got acquired last year. I invested smart. I didn't waste money trying to impress people. Ethan stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You think you're better than me? You think you've won something here? I stayed seated, completely calm. I don't think I've won anything, Ethan. I just finally stopped playing a game that was rigged against me from the start. I looked around the table at my family's shocked faces, then at my mom, who couldn't even meet my eyes. For years, I said, I've watched you all fawn over everything Ethan does while treating me like an afterthought. You all acted like I was somehow falling behind in life when the truth is, I've been ahead this entire time. I stood up, grabbing my coat from the back of my chair. The saddest part, I said, looking directly at my mother, is that you'll never know how much I've accomplished because you never bothered to ask. You were so busy focusing on your golden boy that you completely missed the fact that your daughter was actually the successful one. My mom started to cry. Ethan was shaking with anger. The rest of the family sat frozen, not knowing what to say. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. Next time you want to know about my life, I said, try actually listening to the answer. And with that, I walked out into the cold November air, got in my car, and drove home to my beautiful, fully paid-for house. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. I felt completely untouchable. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I was sitting on my back deck with Oscar, watching the sunset over the woods behind my house. When Nora texted me, Mom says Aunt Debbie is still talking about your mic drop moment at Thanksgiving. Pretty sure you're a family legend now. I smile and text back, how's your mom doing? Good. She wants to know when she can come see your place. I may have shown her some pictures. I laugh. Tell her she's welcome anytime. You too, obviously. But make it clear my invitation doesn't extend to certain other family members. Nora responds immediately. Understood. Drama still unfolding on that front. We'll fill you in when I see you. The truth is, I don't regret exposing Ethan. Not even a little bit. He'd been lying and manipulating our mom for years, draining her retirement savings while she enabled his financial irresponsibility. Someone needed to pull back the curtain on that whole mess. My phone rings. It's my mom's number. This is the 5th time she's called since Thanksgiving. I haven't picked up yet. Part of me is curious what she has to say, but I'm not in any rush to hear it. After a moment of consideration, I hit decline and set my phone face down on the table. 10 minutes later, a text comes through. Jade, please, we need to talk. Ethan's having some financial troubles, and I'm trying to help him figure things out. Maybe you could give him some advice. He's still your brother. I stare at the message, feeling a familiar anger rise in my chest. Of course this isn't about me or what happened at Thanksgiving. It's about Ethan. It's always about Ethan. I type back, let me get this straight. After I revealed that I bought a house in cash that's twice the size of Ethan's, after I told you that you've ignored my accomplishments for my entire life, your response is to ask me to help Ethan with his financial problems? Are you serious right now? 3 dots appear as she types, then stop, then start again. Finally, don't be like that, Jade. Family helps family. You've always been so independent. Ethan needs help. And there it is. My independence, my self-sufficiency, the very things that allowed me to build the life I have, are still being used against me. Meanwhile, Ethan's helplessness is still being rewarded. I take a deep breath and type what I should have said years ago. Mom, I'm done. I'm done being the afterthought. I'm done watching you bail Ethan out while ignoring my existence. Even now, you're still not interested in my success. You're just looking for ways to use it to fix Ethan's mistakes. So no, I won't be helping Ethan, and I won't be answering any more calls or texts about him either. I hit send, then immediately block her number. I do the same for Ethan and Vanessa. Then I turn my phone off completely and set it aside. Oscar comes over and puts his head in my lap. I scratch behind his ears, feeling lighter than I have in years. Just you and me now, buddy, I tell him. Well, us and Nora, and her parents. That's enough family for anyone. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their validation. And I definitely don't need to set myself on fire to keep Ethan warm. For For the first time in my life, I'm not just the afterthought, the other child, the invisible daughter. I'm Jade, successful, independent, strong Jade, and that's more than enough.